and now we're live everywhere else. Hello, welcome everybody. I appreciate y'all being here. Happy Friday to you. It is Friday, by the way, in case you don't know. I tell you what, it was hotter than Hades here in Kentucky. I don't know where you are, but it is hotter than Satan's armpit. It is time. It's time to cool down. I'm over the heat. I'm over it. I am an autumn 50, 60, 30, 20, 10, 0 degree type of guy. I just don't like this. I mean, my goodness, this heat, like forget about it. But I was telling Mr. Producer and our special guest tonight prior to going on that, we had a tornado in February in Kentucky. What in the world? It's cray-cray. I don't understand it. Okay, everybody, it is Friday, and we are happy that you are here. So, look, Satan's armpit. I could have said something, but it is just, miserable. So wherever you are, hopefully you're having a good day. That's the most important thing. Let's just forget about the stress and anxieties of life for just a moment. Let us entertain you and just have a good time tonight. Even trolls, just do yourself a favor. Just for 2 hours, just set aside trolling. Just set aside and see how it's like. It's like, oh, that's what life is supposed to be like. You see, that you're supposed to enjoy it. And then if trolling is enjoyment, that actually is sadistic. You need to speak to your therapist. But everybody else, I appreciate you all being here. Truly do. Yeah, we have a very cool show. Now, look, before we get into our presentation, I want to tell you about a couple of sites that I am asking you to please visit. And here they are. Our sponsor's website is kgradb.com. KGRAD as in dog, B as in bicycle.com. What I need you to do is click on the shop link. When you click on the shop link, you're going to click my name. And we have a bunch of new products that are in the store. And I want you to purchase every single one of them. And here's why. Number one, you're going to get some amazing products. And number two, every single penny that I would make from my percentage, my cut that I would make from selling Sacred Division items and things of this nature, our community, we are donating 100% of that to, thank you very much, thank you, JD, to our friends, the MKS Kids Foundation. The MKS Kids Foundation, it is an orphanage. It is in Uganda. They are in desperate need for funding. They have some, and I know a lot of people are struggling. I get it. But they are really struggling right now. And so they need our help. And I know Christmas is way down the road. I get it, but it'll be here before you know it. So why not just purchase the products? We have St. Michael products. We have St. Benedict. St. Benedict is the patron saint for exorcists as well as police officers. And of course, St. Michael, we all know the St. Michael prayer. We call upon St. Michael, especially for evil and against evil. But we have some amazing products there, guys. And when you buy them, just know that number one, you're buying a great product. And number two, you're supporting a cause that is beautiful. I truly support the MKS Kids Foundation. As a matter of fact, I told Mr. Producer's behind the scenes, and he can verify. He will tell you 100% of whatever I would make on these products, and I say we, and I mean we, because you guys are helping me with this. We are donating this to the MKS Kids Foundation. And I've talked about this before. Orphanages in the United States is one thing. But when you have an orphanage in Uganda, that's a different story. And I've said this again many times before. People always say, well, we got to help our people. We can help both. We can help both. And we should. And so the difference, obviously a big difference, of course, between the United States and Uganda is that when you see, and I've talked about this before, when you see the kids with the great big bellies, it's not because they're full. It's because they have parasites because of the bad drinking water. So when you're dealing with Uganda, and he serves, my friend there, who is the MKS Kids Foundation, he serves a very poor area. And these are children that it's different than the United States. The United States, kids are taken care of. Uganda, it's pretty much in many parts, you're on your own. And so I'm really passionate about this. because it means a lot to me, because I see them making videos and passing out food. And I tell you what, it's a beautiful thing. So if you can help one person, if you can help one child, just one, then I truly believe that your reward will be great in heaven. And I encourage you, everybody, to go over to the MKS Kids Foundation. Thank you. Go over to the MKS Kids Foundation on TikTok and help them out. Okay. Now, if you want to go to my website because you have nothing else better to do, well, you can do that. It's bishopjameslong.com. So if you want to read things that'll put you to sleep, go on over to my website. It's really exciting. It's really exciting. I got to tell you, woo, bishopjameslong.com. More importantly, if you want to go to the church's website, that's usocc.org. usocc.org. Okay. That's the ministry's website. I want to remind folks tonight we have at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, as we normally do, we have night prayer. We pray for your petitions. So here is how we roll. For those of you on TikTok, I uploaded a video last night for tonight's night prayer. So it's on my TikTok profile. If you want us to pray for your prayer petition, we'd be honored to do so. You have to go to my TikTok profile right now. You have less than 1 hour to place your prayer petitions in the comments. Again, we uploaded the video last night, but there are many people that are new. So if you're on TikTok and you want us to pray for your prayer petition, go to my TikTok profile, find the video that clearly says, place your prayer petition for tonight's night prayer, Friday night's night prayer. Just put your prayer petitions in the comments. Include your first name. Thank you. Include your first name. For those of you who are watching this on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, everywhere else, and KGRADB radio, all you got to do is go to usocc.org. And it says to become a parishioner, click here. It's right there on the main page. It takes you right to our Facebook group page. And Judy Ann posts a picture today. It says place your prayer petitions by 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time today, and we'll include your prayer petitions. Tonight is a very special day. It is the Assumption of Mary. And so for Catholics, it's a very special day of the liturgical year. Now, tonight is our Paranormal Friday night, where we get together and we talk about all things spooky. Some things are very spooky. Other things are maybe not so, but nonetheless, they deal with the supernatural and the paranormal. And I want to thank Mr. Producer for suggesting this fantastic guest that we have having on this evening. So let's go ahead and get into this. In December 1980, near 2 Royal Air Force base in Suffolk, England, the United States Air Force security personnel reported a series of unexplained lights in Rendlesham Forest. The sightings happened over 2 nights and involved several witnesses from the base who described bright, flashing lights, movement among trees, sometime near a small hovering object. The most talked about elements include some witnesses claiming they saw a metallic triangular craft up close. One airman saying that he briefly touched the object and later wrote down unusual symbols. A senior officer, Colonel Charles Halt, also recorded a taped account of the events describing the lights and a possible landing. Now, investigations by the United States Air Force and UK authorities did not find conclusive physical evidence of an alien craft, and they suggested ordinary explanations or perhaps misperceptions might account for the sightings. Nevertheless, the combination of multiple witnesses, radar notes, and on-site investigations has kept Rendlesham Forest as one of the most famous and debated UFO cases, continually fueling rumors, documentaries, and books about what happened there. Our guest this evening is John Burroughs. He is a United States Air Force security police. He is retired. He is a native of Illinois. Burroughs entered the Air Force in 1979, served over 20 years in the United States Air Force. He was assigned to RAF Bentwaters in June of 1979 as a base police officer. On the night of December the 25th and 26th, Burroughs accompanied as a Special Sergeant Maybe Pennington in an investigation of unusual lights in the Rendlesham Forest adjacent to the base. What began as a routine response to possible base incursion or accident scene would become the defining episode of Burroughs' life. Now, subsequent to his encounter with a craft of unknown origin, Burroughs' career continued to provide him with training in law enforcement and investigation, which would provide invaluable in his personal investigation of the events in Rendlesham Forest. Now, of key concern to Burroughs are the medical effects resulting from his encounter, which have prompted, in his words, quote, an ongoing campaign to force the authorities to reveal the truth about what happened and to seek justice for the men and women caught up in these incidents, some of whom have suffered adverse physical and psychological effects. Now, this campaign has a number of strands, including legal action, targeted Freedom of Information Act request, and the forthcoming book, which, by the way, he says, which is being handled by one of the world's biggest and most prestigious publishing houses. He wrote the book, co-author, I believe, Encounter in Rendlesham Forest, the inside story of the world's best documented UFO incident. So with that, let us bring in our special guest, John Burroughs. Hello there, John. How are you?
Doing good. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. I want to thank you certainly for your patience while we present our, always our little beginning information as we normally do. And so I appreciate you being with us this evening and taking your time. So thank you for that. It's interesting. On an off note, just this has nothing to do with UFOs, so just indulge me for a moment. I am very, very big fan of Saint Elvis Presley. He is saint. No one got the memo, but he is a saint. Did you know that John Burroughs was actually his code name when he traveled?
Yeah, I was told that.
You were told that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's pretty cool. I mean, all right.
Yeah.
So, John, in plain terms, what happened in the Rendlesham Forest in 1980, and why is it called the best documented UFO incident?
Well, I'll start with the best documented. I mean, that's things that people have said. They've called it the British Roswell and stuff. It's documented. I mean, and what you can go by documentation is the Air Force admitted it took place. So there was a memo written by Lieutenant Colonel Halter you were talking about that recorded the incident on the third night. He had a tape that he recorded, and he recorded part of what went on because he kept shutting it on and off. And then there's also been speculation that some of what he recorded was cut out, which there is some proof in the tape that it could have been. But getting back to the point is that there is actually evidence that, there was an incident that took place. Military people were involved. We had some kind of encounter. A memo was written and given to the British government. So that makes it well documented, and most of the people that were involved are still alive. Unfortunately, the wing commanders passed, but most of the witnesses that were there are still alive. So, it's documented. It's real. It happened. In your intro, you were talking about how they tried to cover it up with different stories and stuff. That's fine. I mean, I also listened to you talk about people that troll and all that. But the bottom line is that we went out into that forest over 3 nights doing our job. We had an encounter with something that's still classified to this day.
So what inspired you? And we're going to get into the Rendlesham because I want to know all the details. So what inspired you to write the book? Of course, and again, folks, I encourage you to pick up the book, Encounter in Rendlesham Forest, the inside story of the world's best documented UFO incident. So what inspired you to write it?
Well, the book itself was a culmination of we hit the 40th year mark, and at that particular time I was working with Sergeant Peniston, and what we wanted to do is get people to have a better understanding of what happened to us, and unfortunately that didn't happen. I mean, I'm not trying to tell people not to buy the book, but Nick Pope got his hands into it, and he pretty much wrote it the way he wanted to write it. And he left a lot of important stuff out. And in fact, it went back to rewrite the first time because the publisher wasn't happy that it was mostly about his stuff. But I mean, it gives you a basic summary of what took place. It's a vanilla the summary. It was what was going on at the time with Leslie Keane and some other people were trying to get people to take UFOs more seriously. So they were dumbing stuff down and not trying to make it sound extraordinary and stuff. So it fit the bill at the time that was released. It's been like a decade ago now. But I mean, there's another book that I wrote with a researcher out of the UK called James Warrow. It says weaponization of UAPs, and we lay out exactly what the government, what was going on outside the back gates at the time, during the Rendlesham event, and what the government's doing with UAPs and how it's advancing our technology.
Okay, so this is you can get this book that he just mentioned on Amazon, Weaponization of a UAP is unidentified aerial phenomenon. So weaponization of an unidentified aerial phenomenon, the Rendlesham Forest UAP incident, 40 years later. So make sure everyone, you pick that book up. That is a book that obviously that I believe you and James Warrow, you said he wrote this.
Yeah, we worked on it together. James did a lot of the research, and then a lot of the technology parts that are in it, he wrote the part about it, because we worked together on what we experienced and what could have caused those effects and what our government has and doesn't have through FOIA and, declassified documents and stuff like that.
Now, how involved were you in the book, Encounter in Rendlesham Forest?
That's what I'm saying. I mean, it was basically... Originally, Jim and I were going to write it with a different person, then they had to drop out. And so we decided we were going to do the book and then have different people write different chapters. And we wanted Nick Pope to talk about Condyne. And that's a big part of all this, and what's going on, not only with our event, but also what's going on with today's technology. But he kind of jumped in and he offered, because he had an agent and he already had a script, which we didn't really know at the point, but he already had a manuscript written. So his agent got St. Martin's Press interested in it, and then basically he wrote most of the book. We gave him some stuff to put in there, and like I said, the book got kicked back by the publisher because it was too much about him and not enough about us. So we did get some of a rewrite into it, but I mean, what we wanted to do was get the story out, but we wanted to explain it a lot better than it was explained in this book. So,
and so you would think, so basically you're saying that the weaponization of unidentified aerial phenomenon, the book that you wrote along with James Warrow, you would say that probably is a better book for anybody who is interested in really learning a little bit more about what happened in the Rendlesham?
Well, yeah, it goes into details and facts and supporting documents. I mean, the UFO world right now is being driven by what's going on in DC and by certain figureheads that have come forward, but they're not providing any real evidence. They just keep saying, that believe us, trust us, the evidence is there. I mean, one of the representatives came out on the Rogan show the other day and said, I've seen pictures of classified, craft that clearly are from here, but I can't talk about it. And I think in general, people are getting tired of that. And it's not just with UFOs, it's other things. They keep getting promised they're going to find out what really went on or what's taking place. And they continuously, it's like a guy with a fishing pole out there with the bait in front of you. And every time you get close to it, they reel it up a little bit. So I think people are getting tired of that. And at the end of the day, I mean, the secrets that are being kept from not just the American people, but the world is starting to wear thin, I think. And I think a lot of people are getting tired of that. You know what I mean? It's clear that the elite that control the people that actually run our government, and they have all the power, and we just have to settle for breadcrumbs.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think it gets to a point where people are like, just stop with the political answer and just be straightforward with us, because don't treat us like we're kids, because it's almost insulting to the intelligence. I think it is. I would rather someone be straightforward. This is what we think it is. This is what we don't know what it is, instead of this nonsense. Because, for example, all these drones, if you will, that came out, just this year alone. Remember earlier this year, all these drones were all over the place. And there was no answers. It was always an excuse. It was like, well, we really don't know what they are. I'm sorry, you're the United States government. You're trying to convince us that our military, allegedly the most powerful military in the world, which I believe, you're trying to convince us that you don't know what these drones are. I mean, I listened to a press conference where they said, we don't really know if they're man-made or if they're privately owned. I'm like, they're flying over sensitive air bases. And you're trying to convince us that you don't know if these are privately owned drones versus military. How did you feel about that whole incident?
Well, again, it's disingenuous. We have the technology to bring down man-made drones. I mean,
right.
And the fact that, well, it's actually leaking out more and more. I think one of the eye openers was when the Pope was buried, they caught some of the security carrying these different type of they were rifles, but they were not anything anybody's ever seen before, and those were actually used to bring drones down. Plus, we also have other technology that can bring them down. And I mean, they're using it overseas, but we still have some of that technology here in the States. And if again, to guarantee you that if we got caught off guard one night, it just continued on and on. So that's where you just lose, you lose respect and you have a hard time listening to these people. Kind of reminds me of sports when it's the same stuff every year and they keep coming out with this stuff. And if you really rewound it to the back toward the beginning, 90% of what they told you was wrong. So it's kind of what's going on with all this, and that they're being disingenuous with us, and they think we're stupid enough to believe it. But in reality, there's not a lot we can do for it because we continue to vote for these same people. We continue to allow them to have the power that they have, and we continue to let them insult us. And I'm not saying that every single thing that's out there we have a right to know. And what I mean by that is, unfortunately, we're a warring world. And you have to keep secrets to, keep the other side off guard. So there's nothing wrong with, having secrets. It's when it gets to the point where it's just boldface being lied to, like you said, with the drones and some of this other stuff, it just gets ridiculous. And yeah. I mean, again, people are frustrated, but I'm not sure what we can really do about it.
Okay, folks, for those of you just tuning in, I'm Bishop Long. We're talking to our new friend, John Burroughs, who experienced the Rendlesham Forest incident, and we're talking to him about his experience. So can you describe the atmosphere in the Rendlesham Forest that night as a scene? What did it feel like to you?
Well, I'm sorry. We came on duty. It was halfway through the shift, and the guy I was riding with, my supervisor, we were riding around together, and we saw something strange. So we left the base briefly to get a better idea, and it didn't seem right because right away there was like a static electricity in the air, and things seemed different. So we went back up and called it in on the phone, and then we were hoping it would stay, wouldn't get over the net. But right away they broadcast over the net to send a patrol down to the gate, and that kind of opened everything up. Everybody stopped doing what they were doing, including it was Christmas night, and they were listening to music on one of the frequencies. So everybody was listening. Everybody wanted to know what was going on, and so one of the first things that happened was, the discussion was what could have went down into the forest. So they contacted radar sites, and they came up. The radar sites confirmed that something was over the area where the area of the forest, and went down into the forest, which has always been one of those things that they've tried to poo-poo around. But we never would have left base because there was no immediate threat to the base itself, other than we didn't know what was sitting in the forest right outside the perimeter, but there was no hostile threat towards us. So after the radar, data came in, the decision was to send 3 of us out into the forest to see if we can get a better idea what was going on.
So real quick, when you're saying you're driving around, kind of walk us through this. When you say that something didn't feel right, what did you see? Was it more so what you saw or what you felt?
It was both. It was an eerie feeling. I mean, it was the lights in the woods that weren't making any sense, and then the feeling of static electricity and stuff. I mean, most people have always experienced something where all of a sudden it doesn't feel right. And you get that feeling, that whatever feeling you call it, whatever name you use for it, and you just know that this is a little bit bigger than it first appeared, and not only that, we were off base.
Was it multicolored lights or just a regular light?
Yeah, different colored lights. There was blue, red, and green. If like I've described in interviews early on, like almost looked like a Christmas display of different colored lights. Wow. You know, and there was a big bright white light involved with it, and then there was always an orangish hueish colored light that was kind of mixing in with the white light and the different colored lights.
So let me ask you a real quick question right now, because I don't, and please, just because sometimes I want to break this down so much because of your experience as United States Air Force security personnel. My question for you is, have you ever seen anything with all these type of lights on a military aircraft? Have you ever seen that before, or was this just odd to have these type of
I know where you're going with this, but I'll sum it up this way, okay? So many different people have had encounters, whether it's military, civilian, come back and say, wow, we've never seen anything like that, so we can't explain it. So what's the first thing you fall back on? It was from somewhere else. You know, maybe it was the enemy, or maybe it was an alien, or whatever you want to call it, right? Well, I understand why, because we were the same way. What we were seeing, we couldn't explain, and we've never seen it before. Now, I will say this, that I can't say much more than the fact is down the road in my career, I did see stuff like that going forward, but I can't talk about it. But
no, wait, hold on now, John. You can't give us a carrot and say you can't talk about it.
Because it's classified. I was in a classified location, and I was in a classified operation. And some of the effects that I'm just telling you, some of the effects that what we were dealing with, what we were involved with, had some of the same characteristics of exactly what we experienced in the fields those nights. And
that's fair.
That was one of the reasons why I started doing research, because where I was going next with this, and I'm just being honest, there's things
I'm teasing.
When you're in the military, you can't talk about them. And I'm not trying to lead people on. There was just some technology that I was exposed to later on that I can't talk about.
Fair enough.
So getting back to my point is that besides that going on and other things and research, it came to be known that, number one, right outside the back gate at Woodbridge, which a lot of people don't want to talk about, and the British people clam up on this because of the Secrets Act, which most people aren't even aware unless you live in Britain, how serious that is. If you have a family member that's in the military, you fall under the Secrets Act. Oh, wow. Or if you were ever in the military. And there's a lot more ramifications that take place with British citizens over there on talking about certain things than it does in the United States. So the British don't even want to talk about this stuff very much. But the BBC's done some documentaries and stuff. Right outside the back gate at Woodbridge it was always called the British Roswell. It was actually the British Area 51. That area back there was heavily involved in technology, including right outside the back gate. They developed the death ray, and then they developed the radar systems back there. Plus, they had nuclear technology. Wow. Plus, they had Cobra Mist there. I could go down the list a mile long of all the different technologies they had worked on or were operational outside the back gate, which at that point in time, we were not aware of any of that.
Yeah, death ray. Can you, for people who have no idea what a death ray is, can you explain that?
It's a laser system that they can use to target and bring things down.
As a matter of fact, we've seen that. We saw that, I believe, recently. I think, was it in Israel? They had used.
Yeah, that's going to be part of the new Golden Dome.
Golden Dome, yeah.
They've actually, but they were using that over there with their all their other systems, their anti-missile systems and stuff. It's involved in all that, and it's now going into tanks, ships, planes, everything else, and it's getting close to what you would see back in science fiction stuff with the lasers and stuff, being able to shoot back and forth to each other, including weapons, handheld weapons And like I said, those rifles were shown in a picture that the Italian soldiers were carrying to deal with drones. So we're a lot farther along than people realize.
Fair enough.
Whether they care or not's another story. And we're closer to Star Wars than most people realize. And all that technology, a lot of it started right outside the back gate of Bentwaters. Woodbridge.
So take us back. Okay, so you have the Rendlesham. You see this, whatever it is, a multicolored light system, whatever that is, and there was this static. You said electricity in the air. You then report this information. Now tell us then what do you do next? Do you approach this?
Well, we go out. 3 of us go out the first night, and we get close to something. And like you said in your opening there, you didn't mention there was a third person. Airman Kabansek was his name. It was his first night on duty, if you can believe that or not.
Wow.
So he got quite initiated. First, he even thought afterwards, he kind of joked around. He thought we were playing a prank on him at first until it got really real. But so we went out there, we got close to it, and then we all have different memories of it. I remember getting close to it, and I don't know what happened after that until it went back up into the sky. He did an interview where he said it knocked us out, but before that, I drew my weapon on it. And then Peniston was the one that said he actually got close to it, took notes, drew the symbols, and they had a contact with it and had a binary download. So that was the first night when we went out there. That was basically, we got really close to it, which then people were always saying it was the lighthouse. Well, where we had our first encounter, the lighthouse didn't come into play at all.
Okay, well, hold on.
We got close to something right there. So
okay, how close were you to this object?
I don't know, maybe 20, 30 feet.
Okay,
at the most,
so
20 feet.
Now,
now understand this. Now,
okay.
I want to be clear about something that most people don't talk about in encounters and stuff. Whatever we encountered, and you go into Project Condign, it has the effect to manipulate space and time, how close you feel you are, what you remember, what goes on. So we got close to it. Let's just put it to you that way. Okay. And Peniston claims he got close to it enough to walk around it, touch it, get a download, and everything else. So. Okay.
So would you describe this as metallic? Was this a metal object?
No, that was his description. No, this was just lights.
Okay,
and I told you, I remember getting close to it and then it left. Okay. And the other guy said we got close to it and it knocked us out, and he woke up, and it was gone. So Peniston's the one that went into the great details about all the other stuff. Myself and Kabansek don't have any memory or saw any of what he said took place.
Was there a time lapse in between where you?
Our watches were 45 minutes slow when we got back, because we then went further out, because it went out towards the farmers' fields, and we followed it for a while. But the interesting thing is that where we ended up, where we got to, where we couldn't go any farther, was right off the coast. And there's like a cliff right there, and you can look down to the north, to the sea. I think it's the North Sea, whatever body of waters there. And there was a lighthouse there. So there was a lighthouse there. And in fact, through our research, we discovered the lighthouse really was involved with it because of the technology they were using with the lighthouse to affect the forest itself. But the point is when I went back there in 2018, there was no way we could have gotten from just after 3 a.m. and got back from between 5 and 5:30. We could have gotten out there and back to the way we did. We just can't. There's just no explanation.
So there was a time lapse.
Gotten out there and back. Yeah, there was missing time. Yes.
So then, is it possible? Because I have spoken to quite a few people who have said that in fact they absolutely believe that they were abducted, and then later on through hypnosis and through therapy, they kind of uncover perhaps some memories that they lost. Do you believe it's possible that if it was a UFO, that you were in fact abducted, that would explain the time lapse, according to a lot of?
Not really, because that's where these people are mistaken. If you go into a time dilation bubble, everything changes. And that doesn't mean that you were abducted. It just means you went into a different time, like a different, I can't even think of the word now. You're in a different dimension.
But isn't that a form of abduction, though? I mean, if you're in a different dimension.
No, it's not. It's not. I mean, those are the kind of things that for example, this phenomenon has the ability to create these effects. And that's what we're using in our technology right now with Tic Tac, with the missiles, the high-end missiles. One of the DIRS papers that got submitted to Congress when Gresh testified was Hal Puthoff's paper on space-time metrics and how we can travel through space. And the easiest way to describe it for people that want to even think about what they're trying to say is just look at Star Trek. The ship goes into warp drive. It creates a warp bubble around it, which is a time dilation bubble, which makes it able to cut through space and time. That's how you can get from one point to another so fast. Okay? And just go to Interstellar, where it talks about how you go on the planet. They went on the planet, and the guy aged a lot more that was orbiting the planet than what they aged down on the planet. They thought they were down there for days, and they were, I forget what it was, a year or two? I don't remember. But this is all the kind of stuff that this phenomenon is about, and they're weaponizing it to use it in all kinds of weapon systems and everything, and actually give us the ability to do space-time travel, including wormholes. I know people roll their eyes, but they're getting close.
No,
there are all kinds of things they're talking about. Yep. They're talking about the ability now. Science Division just came out with the government 2 or 3 months ago and said we have the ability to mess with space and time, and they're actually working on creating time dilation bubbles on tanks, aircraft, ships, and they even said DARPA is working on a backpack where an individual troop could actually go in and out. So think of it like Star Trek, like cloaking. You go into a different time frame or dimension, because what happens is, let's say I see you and then you activate that, you're no longer in the same metrics of time that I just saw you in. And so everything that goes on, you're either fast or slower. And I'm reacting to you in my own time frame.
Wow, that is okay. So, what physical traces or artifacts were reported with this UAP?
Just Penniston's description of the triangular craft, and he saw glyphs and he touched them. I mean, there's been rumors there was something recovered in the forest. I know that for a fact. I was on duty when they did it. I don't know what it was, but there's a good possibility with all this other stuff going on, we're working on bringing down a Soviet satellite at the same time. And there's a good possibility the Soviet spy satellite got brought down during our event on top of everything else that was going on.
So how do you square the issue with your coworker seeing something clearly metallic and saying he even touched it versus you standing 20 to 30 feet away and not describing it as metallic? How are you able to, in your own mind, figure that out?
Well, because Project Conduct, they'll tell you when you get close to this stuff, it affects how you remember it and see it and everything. Now, one of two things with Penniston is a fact. Either he's exaggerating, lying by omission, or he just was completely manipulated by what we were, what we encountered. But the problem I've had with him is his story took him forever to come out with a story, and he has excuses why, but I ain't buying it because I was around him enough. So there's no doubt what happened affected him, and he has medical issues. And some of what he's talking about is probably real. It's just the way he's played the story and everything, which I just find disingenuous. The story was crazy enough as it is. Never mind on night 3 when I went back out there and I met up with Halt's team and went forward with Sergeant Bustinza. He saw me go into it and disappear for several minutes, where I just disappeared. I phased out and then I phased back in.
Wait! You disappeared into the lights?
Yeah, we went towards these lights that were coming back towards the party, and Halt sent Bustinza and I forward, and then we started moving towards it. He claims he got knocked to the ground, and when I say claims, I believe him. Yeah. I'm just telling you, he said something knocked him to the ground and held him down, and then he saw me go into it and disappear.
And what did you experience when you?
I have no idea. I got close to it, and I don't know what happened after that.
Wow. And radar readings, you said radar readings did have something on the radar indicating that there was something there?
The first night, before we went out there, radar showed something up over the area that disappeared. It dropped off a radar in the area where we said we saw something go down. That's why they let us go out there.
Okay, and this individual, you said, I'm sorry, you said the other person that who claims that he touched this metal object. What kind of character was, or I don't know if he's still living. Is he the type of person?
No, he's still around. Yeah, he's still around. Yeah,
is he kind of one of those no nonsense type of people, or is he one of those type of people?
Well, it's what a little. I mean, again, he was secured as law enforcement. We shared a landlord. We rode together briefly for a couple of weeks before the incident happened, where I hitched a ride every night. We split gas and everything. You know what I mean? He had a car and I didn't. I lived downtown down the street from him. So I was around him briefly, and he was a no-nonsense kind of guy. But then after the event, he got moved off a flight right away and put in the back office. So didn't have any more contact with him afterwards. But from what I understood, what little I knew about him at the time, he was a no-nonsense type of guy. Yeah.
Okay.
So
for those of you just tuning in, we're talking to our friend John Burroughs. He was involved with the Rendlesham Forest. If you don't know anything about it, I strongly encourage you to head over to online and check it out. It's a pretty fascinating story. So some readers, some individuals may think it could have been a misunderstanding, could have been a hoax. Other people believe it absolutely was a UFO. Based on your experience actually being there, what would you say it is or was?
Well, what I can tell you, these are facts that are there, okay? Mm-hmm. There was a study being taken place by a group of scientists that were down there for completely something different to our event. That there's a known phenomenon that's in that area, and there's different phenomena. And this particular phenomenon, there's a phenomenon that's known around the world. There's different points where this phenomenon exists. Okay, and so they were down there studying it. Then our event took place. They clearly were working on equipment and technology down there, because right there at that location was Marconi Company working with our defense contractors, because a lot of that got shut down after MK Ultra got exposed and moved overseas. They were working on SDI. And now people, are you there?
Yep, I'm here.
Okay, it sounded like I cut off. Yep. SDI was already being worked on back in the 70s. So people just think that didn't show up until after Reagan became president. But they were working on that technology, lasers, drones, and everything else. They were working on it right outside the back gate. So all this was taking place. Never mind the fact that they were also studying the phenomenon and trying to understand it and how it could be utilized in weaponization at the same time. So when we went out there, we walked into a toxic mess that I don't have no idea how high up the chain of command, if they knew very much about it or not, at least at first. But as each night evolved, they probably had to learn some stuff more, and then definitely the after effects. Some of them must have, at least the wing commander got read in, because I met with him years later, and he had a lot better idea what happened to us. So all I'm getting at is we walked into a toxic mess, and we weren't taken care of. We were just left, to go on our way. We were told it was being investigated. If they needed something from us, they'd let us know, but to keep our mouth shut. And I did. I just went on my way. And then the story broke. I think it was in '83 with News of the World. And then that really changed everything, because then we've been being chased ever since then.
So what do you think you saw? What was from your?
We had an interaction with an intelligence, and I can't say it's not of this world. I mean, I went under hypnosis, and it possibly could be us from the future. And that's one of the things Penniston said, which I've always had a hard time. That's what I'm saying. Parts of the story could play into this, just because it's possible, based on my hypnosis, that we encounter something from the future coming back to take a look at the present at the time in 1980. But we definitely had an interaction with some kind of intelligence that was also had something to do with what we were working on weapons wise and stuff. And everybody wants to make a big deal about there were nuclear weapons there, but let's just say I can't confirm or deny what was there or not. I can just tell you that the area we were in, there was no nuclear weapons present. So
all right, now let's talk about the lasting physical effects: dreams, sleep problems, health issues. Those individuals who are involved, thank you there, Teresa, those individuals who are involved, who are present, tell us about what you guys have experienced physically, and have your physical issues, if any, have they been addressed as they should have been?
Well, I can tell you for sure, two of us, the sergeant that was with me that night and I, both have been. It was actually a short battle, which is rare because the VA usually makes it difficult to get taken care of. But we got it done pretty quick within 3 years, and that was partly because of a senator by the name of McCain and his aide. I got one of the best aides out there in Cheryl Bennett, because she just wasn't going to have it. And she pushed it hard, using Senator McCain's office, as far as his clout and power to actually get us taken care of. Good. But the one individual has PTSD and some other issues. My biggest problem was heart issues, was started pretty quickly right after the incident, and then it got worse as the years went on. And both his and my records are classified, or at least were classified during the time we were trying to get our settlements. Some people have come out now and say they're not classified anymore, which I have no idea if they are or not. But interesting enough, even if they were declassified now, I'm sure the area that they wanted to keep from people seeing was the testing that was done on me and my heart right afterwards. That was what the biggest holdback. They didn't want my records out. They didn't want anybody to see whatever the damage was to my heart, what testing they did. And then when, as far as the CIA guy came out and said that my records were classified, he knew they were classified, and that I was injured. And he actually went as far as saying the only other two records he's ever seen classified like mine were Adolf Hitler and John Kennedy's.
So let me ask you this. If there was no abduction, and I'm not trying to reduce the significance of it, but if it was a multicolored Christmas lights that you saw.
I just said it looked like Christmas lights.
Sure. No, I get. Yeah, as far as description, what I'm getting at is why it seems like, based on what you're describing, why would your coworker? What was the reason for the PTSD? I mean, I can understand if there was abduction issues.
Because again, most people are nuts about UFO people, and they don't want to understand. Frequencies are what are going to control the world, okay? And frequencies can affect you mentally and physically, just like the big hoopah about 5G was for a while, and then it just went away. But these different frequencies can cause different effects. And when you get close to something like that, not only can it be traumatic because you don't know what you're dealing with, but the effect of being close to it with the radiation, the terahertz radiation that we were exposed to, and the frequencies and the manipulation on the mind itself and the biological effects can cause all kinds of problems. It's just, it says it in Project Condign that's the different things that'll happen to you. And when you get into some of this stuff, it's beautiful. I mean, there's a guy that worked on a project. Have you heard of the God's Helmet?
I'm sorry, the who?
Have you ever heard what's called the God's Helmet?
I have, yes, the God's Helmet.
Yeah, that was a guy that I met, and I shouldn't say met, but I saw his work through these guys that knew him. There's the effect that they could put something on your head, and then 8 out of 10 people thought they saw God when they manipulated the frequency on the person that was doing the testing. So they can do all kinds of things with this stuff. The big question is when, get it to the point where they can control it and have, the ability, the different reasons why they couldn't use it en masse. But there was rumors in the Iraqi war that a bunch of soldiers just gave up, and that was supposedly what they call this soft war or non-lethal weapons, that there's different effects. They've openly admitted they can go into these crowds with certain technology and make you think you're burning and different things like that. So there's a lot of stuff to this, and there's a lot of stuff that's probably been gleaned from this phenomenon itself.
Yeah, for those of you, you can Google the God's Helmet. It's actually really fascinating. I read that, and it's about a neuroscientist. I believe his name is Persinger, Dr. Persinger, I think. Really a very, very interesting read if you've not read that. So is it possible that, and it's sounds like it is it possible that the frequency that this thing omitted, whatever it was, is it possible, in fact, that you guys have, I don't know, that the frequency affected you differently than it did your coworker?
Well, that's one of the things that this group showed up and started wanting to. They tried to do studies on me. They wanted to study my DNA. They wanted to do what do they do on the mind? They can go in. I think it's an echo, not an echo, but MRI or whatever. They wanted to do that. They want to do that, and they were doing this on 100 people that supposedly they knew had UAP encounters. And the only thing I could get out of them was there was a lot of other incidents that took place with the military, especially that never leaked through the cracks like Rendlesham did or Bentwaters. That ours just got leaked out by whether it was accident or whatever. But a lot of these incidents never have not been exposed. So they were doing a study on different people that were involved in these UAP incidents. That to see what exactly was it? How it affected us? Did we draw them in ourselves? There's a whole list of things that we're looking at, but we never got any of the results back. The people that did it never got told, or at least not that I'm aware of. So,
what surprised you the most during your investigation of the Rendlesham Forest? Is there anything that really stood out the most as far as what surprised you?
Well, I think what surprised me the most was the fact that I sympathize with the people that say they've had these encounters, including like the Tic Tac now. If you've noticed that they've come out and said that's third generation us. But the point being is that I was shocked that how I want to carefully word this. I was aware of technology as I moved forward with my career because I was in it for 27 years. So some of it, I was clearly aware that we've evolved this technology, but I was shocked at just how much we had back in 1980 and how much of what was seen and takes place actually could be a lot of us based off the study of the phenomenon itself. It's like I've talked about they just did the first report on Wall Street Journal, and they talked the initial Arrow report, which they wanted me to go up there and meet with these people and talk to them and stuff, and I declined. But they went after the Robert Salas incident. Well, to be honest with you, they actually openly admitted that they tested this stuff on our own equipment to see how it would affect our equipment and the other side. And people got all up in arms. But Salas was underground, didn't see any of it. But the descriptions that he gave of the people they saw what a UAP is, okay? And the technology that was right there that was hooked up to the missile site, the SAGE radar systems and a Marks generator create those kind of effects. And the radars actually manipulate the UAPs when they create them or they show themselves around this type of technology. Okay. People don't want to listen to that. They think that there's biological aliens visiting us from Zeta Reticuli and craft, and that's the only possibility there is out there.
So the frequency is concerning. You got the Havana syndrome. Suzuki had mentioned that
they tied that to this, which makes sense because, yes, that is manipulation of frequencies would affect people in different ways, yes.
So then the $1 million question is you're a citizen like everyone else is. So then how do you protect yourself from these high frequency weapons?
Oh, that's a good question because I don't understand the weapon itself totally, how it operates. And then some of it would be modulation because they're clearly working on different modulations. It's just like what they're working with the drones right now, which most people aren't aware of. They've gone as far as when they first did these drones, they were satellite uplinks. They would be controlled from the ground. Well, the other side realized how to cut. You cut the link, the craft either crashes or it returns to base. I think the first couple crashed. And then after that, they programmed so they would just, if they lost connection, they were pre-programmed to fly back to a certain area. But so then they're actually working on self-reliance. They launch them, which is probably a lot of what was going on the East Coast and in Colorado. People have forgotten about the Colorado stuff that took place over 3 months, where there was all kinds of drones out there. And the thing is they actually don't have to be controlled. They control themselves. They self-learn.
Oh, that's kind of frightening.
They actually have those available. And then the other issue that they're working on, because you're right, they could go rogue as far as their job is to get to the defense. Well, it may be that we don't really want something blown up or something to go down the way it is, but ultimately, I don't remember the old movie way back. I think it was War Games, where the computer took over. You want to play a game, and he had to show it that it couldn't. You can't win with nuclear destruction, even though it thought it could. That's some of the problem they're running in with some of this technology now, and so they're either trying to control it through mind, or a person could control it mentally, which DARPA's working on that, with people having the ability for telepathy, which goes back to Project Stargate, which was a real project, which I don't know if you know anything about that, but it was real. And the guy that ran the project, I met with him. So anyway, do it that way. Or the last big one, roll the drums, is they want to find a way to interface human consciousness directly into the AI.
See, now that is terrible. That's terrifying if you think about this, because look, if you have the frequency, if you have this frequency weapon, and then you have AI that can think on its own and becomes completely and totally autonomous, then you absolutely create a Terminator. Quite possible.
Well, yeah, but that's over. That Terminator thing, everything for TV is overplayed a little bit.
Well, sure.
But yes, it could technically, in theory, it could start to rule. But again, just remember, I don't think we'd be stupid enough not to have some way of countering it. You know what I mean? Or we would hope we could, but maybe not. Maybe it'll overcome. Maybe eventually computers will take over everything and non-human intelligence will win. There is a possibility that could take place down the road.
You give them complete autonomy, and they're able to circumnavigate.
Well, I don't know if you give it to it. I think it just takes it.
And again, that's even more frightening.
They've already came out. People have already came out and said the computer's smarter than we are now. So, I mean, in reality, if you think about what's going on right now, whether people really understand this or not, and I'm not saying don't use ChatGPT or Grok or anything else, but it's self-learning.
Yes.
Each person has their own account, and it learns everything that you want to learn, and you ask it to research, because it's probably not aware of what you wanted to look at, but it knows now. But not only does it go individually in each individual account, it goes into a mainframe, which is the overall collective, like in Star Trek, the Borg. You know, you have individual people that become the collective, but you have the one person, the one system that runs it all. And that, I mean, eventually it could happen. We could, and we're already losing the ability with this somewhat of critical thinking skills. We rely on so many other sources to tell us what we should believe or not believe.
You know, one of the most famous stories that we all know about the destroyer completely disappeared, the Philadelphia experiment.
Yeah.
So based on your knowledge, as far as, you know, obviously your experience, do you think that the Philadelphia experiment, do you think Stargate, as you mentioned, do you think these things are legitimate, or are you?
Yeah, there is. I mean, I'm in the middle of FOIA right now with both the British and American government about Mark's generators, and that's a key to this, the evolution of it from where it started back. And that went way back to around the Philadelphia experiment time. So the actual folklore of the experiment, probably some of it actually took place. In fact, that's one of the problems they're having right now. They're working on, the problem with this stuff right now is when you cloak, is just the lamest term, when you disappear, it's the computing system, besides the energy field that you have to create the plasma, to create the time dilation, to create the effect, the computing system has to keep up where you're supposed to go next.
Yeah.
And the problem they're having is, you would think like if you're going down the road a mile, right, you would go from A to B and then reappear. Well, the computing system can't keep up when you change that level, and it ends up somewhere else. And sometimes it ends up in a house or different things like that, which goes right back to what you talked about, the Philadelphia experiment.
Now, is it possible that what you experienced in the Rendlesham Forest could be somewhat similar to Stargate?
Well, the Stargate program was remote viewing, and they could go and remote view, go forward or backwards, which was always intriguing, and I couldn't get a straight answer from them when I sat down with them and they gave me a briefing on the program and stuff. I couldn't give a kid a total understanding on how you could do. I could understand how you could look at something present, like you could say, do a target and look at it, and in real time, this is there. What I couldn't understand is that they could look 2 or 3 years in the future and see something that was happening that wasn't necessarily taking place, or go back in time and relive what happened. Like they remote viewed the Rendlesham incident, and some of what they came up with was what we described.
Well, because the reason I ask is because if, in fact, the Stargate was legitimate, and this Rendlesham experience where you had talked about it could be a possibility that you saw the future, actually, that they were perhaps some type of...
No, what I said was that we were dealing with possible life forms from the future. I didn't say we saw the future.
So that could that be a form of Stargate?
And that's what we encountered partly what happened to us out there. Yes.
So I'm wondering if that could be a form of Stargate, to where not only the consciousness.
No, that definitely ties in, because that group is tied into all this.
Oh, wow.
They've been working on this forever, and including being able to manipulate the mind to control an object. Because part of what they do is they have to do meditation. You have to put the mind in, the mind has to control it. So you have to have people's minds that can do this stuff. And that's partly probably why they were studying us, because if we had an interaction with this, maybe our minds are more tuned to being able to do this. Wow. You know what I mean?
That is crazy.
They were looking at bloodlines and everything, because you could create super soldiers, more mind than physical is what it would be.
So in your opinion, what moment in the Rendlesham was the most chilling or unnerving to you?
Not knowing what happened. I mean, I really don't. Just hearing what people saw happen to me. I don't remember any of it, but that particular part of the incident, the crazy part is the fact that, we went forward was with, my records are classified. They denied I was in during the incident. They kept all that locked down. I met with all kinds of people inside government agencies, DIA, CIA people and stuff like that. I got certain briefings. They wanted me to do some other stuff that I refused to do. But that is just as crazy as what happened to us overall. And then ultimately not really totally, I mean, I think I'm getting closer and closer to understanding this. You know what I mean? But the scary part is if what they believe is real, there are people out there that have a lot more abilities than they realize, or they're developing these abilities that will change. It will be a complete game changer. So modern warfare is going to be completely different than what we were used to.
So you're getting closer and closer to understanding this. So based on that information, what's your hypothesis?
How much time do we have? I mean,
have as much time as you.
No, I mean, you can tie in everything to this. You can tie into religion. You can tie it all into this. How we were created, why we have the abilities we are, why are we the way we are, how we're manipulated. Is there going to be some superior something come forward and stop this craziness and madness? Are we ready for any of this? There's just so much to this. And that's one of the things. I'm going to put a book out in the fall called Crossing the Threshold. The first book we just put out, I wrote that we put out 74 pages. We talked a little bit about the government evolution into all this. The second one's going to tie in all the people I've met, what I've learned, what I've come up with. And I'm doing a science fiction one called, the song's A Green Veil, but it's Veritas, True Lies. And the thing is that how we are being manipulated and lied to, and what we're about to face. And the crazy thing is, I wrote this partly on feeling, which I think if you get what I'm telling you, I felt a need to write this, and some stuff came to me to write it the way I did. But it's crazy because when I wrote it, it seems like there may be something getting ready to happen between now and Christmas that falls almost directly into what I'm putting out right now.
So what's your theory? You got to let us know. What do you think is going to happen between now and Christmas?
Well, I think we're coming up to a crossroads in history where we either lose our ability to control our own minds, our own free will and thoughts, and we're going to be completely taken over by NHI, and the non-human intelligence, and we're going to lose it, and eventually we will no longer be what we were, how we were. We're going to evolve into something that's not good for our future.
So you're saying basically isn't it interesting? We give autonomy to AI, and in return, then we remove our autonomy. Is ultimately what you're saying?
Yeah, well, don't you see it all the time? Remember the movie Contact?
I do. Yep.
Way back when McGonagall said, "Are we better off, or how far we've advanced now?"
Right.
Are we better off as a civilization? It may be more convenient for us, but as our evolution as thinkers and our ability to decide and control our destiny, we're giving that all up. And that could be coming up sooner than later. I mean, it's really crazy. There's something brewing right now, and I don't know what it is. And when I say by that, just what's going on with the leaks in Congress, they're talking about this.
True.
Supposedly the White House is taking control of the SAP programs, whether it's true or not. That story leaked. There's different things going on right now, and just never mind the fact that they just said that we may be about to be visited, right? That we're being probed, or whatever the word you want to use for it, because you can make fun of probes. But this object is coming for us. Some people think it's not a comet. It's something that's coming here to analyze us, and it's going to show itself around Christmas this year.
And what are your thoughts?
I don't know. I don't have the data. It's just weird that partly what I've put together in last fall and spring is starting to happen for real. And there's something going on. That's all I'm going to tell you, whether it's real or not, whether they'll use this as a false flag or whatever. But they're building up something that could or could not happen between now and Christmas.
So you believe between now and Christmas, something will happen to our autonomy, ultimately?
I think we have a choice, and I think it's coming quicker than people realize. And I think that AI is a lot farther along than they're telling us. And yeah, I do think that part of it's going to happen quicker than we realize.
Hold on. Now, when you say a choice, now there's a lot of theorists out there, a lot of futurists, that certainly does make a lot of sense. I don't know how possible it is. I haven't spoken to a neuroscientist or a neurosurgeon, but there are absolutely people that are convinced that a chip can easily be implanted into a person's brain, and you can download basically any information that you want, and you can be expert in pianist or whatever it might be that you want to excel in. I don't know if we necessarily have that ability, but do you think?
According to DARPA, we do. According to Elon Musk, we do. That's what he's working on right now.
Yeah,
they've got it in prototype, and they're testing it right now.
And do you believe that is something that? Because when you see we have a choice, are you talking about a collective? Or are you talking about individuals have a choice whether or not they want to have this chip?
We're gonna individually and collectively, we can stop this, or we can allow it to overcome us. That's what's going to happen. We're going to lose our individuality. You know how our brain and our individuality, our soul, our consciousness, or whatever is supposed to operate. We're going to hand it over to non-human intelligence. Is what we're going to do. We're going to allow it to control us. I mean, it was called Cyber Command. It was a show. It was really interesting. It only lasted 1 year because it was too far ahead of its time. It was out 3 or 4 years ago. And the guy had a chip in his brain, and he could tie into everything just like AI can. The only problem with AI right now is it doesn't know everything yet. It hasn't learned everything yet, at least at our level, where even if you ask it to research something, it doesn't find everything.
Sure.
If you give it the more data, it'll find that and more, but it doesn't find everything yet. But it's getting closer and closer. And then once you work with it, then it starts to understand more on what to look for.
And as former military, I mean, obviously having a lot of knowledge that we would not have. Certainly the military industrial complex will have first access to this technology and weaponization. Wouldn't you agree?
Well, it's a lot farther along than we realize, just like everything else that we have. Yeah. I mean, that's what I'm saying. We're working at the white level, and the dark level is a whole different thing.
When you say dark level, what do you mean?
the black level, the dark level. I consider the black world, it's dark, it's evil. It's not meant to help humanity. It's meant to destroy humanity.
I'm sorry, you're saying AI?
They'll
AI?
counter with you. They'll counter with you and say, well, protects us somewhat. But just think, like you were just talking earlier about those hungry children and the issues,
Sure.
over there, right? Just think if we devoted 5% of what we devote to kill ourselves, how much better the world would be.
That's very true. Very, very true. So you think eventually we're going to have the ability where the government's going to say, okay, folks, we now have this situation where you can have this chip embedded in your brain or whatever it might be. And you can download, if you've always wanted to learn how to play the piano, we got you. Just come on in. We'll hook you up to this little machine. And then all of a sudden now you're Beethoven.
I don't think we'll have that choice individually. I think they're going to profile people and that had the genetics and the ability to utilize it. I don't think society as a whole will ever have that opportunity. But I will say this, that we'll use this to manipulate us with fear and everything else to control us. We're already being manipulated constantly by fear. Constantly by fear. All you got to do is go online and look at a thing called the soft wars. It's out there. It's real.
I'm sorry. What is it called? What is it called?
It's called the soft war. Okay.
Soft.
And this particular guy worked in the net assessment office, and he did it for the Department of Defense. And he tells you exactly how we can be manipulated. Exactly how we can be manipulated by the press and everything else.
Oh, yeah.
And we're the most but we're the most divided we've ever been as a society in the world.
Why do you think that is? I was speaking to someone the other day about this. Of course, we can argue social media. I have never seen the divisiveness and the animosity as I have seen today. I've never seen it this bad. Why do you think this? What do you think is going on there?
Well, I could start a conspiracy and say some of it's, as you look, these are facts. People since the 80s, the food's changed, everything's changed. People are getting sicker. There's more cancer. There's more problems. There's more processed food. All that's going on. But the evolution of EM frequencies has evolved in the last 10 to 15 years. And if you go back and look at all that, that is when things have gotten the craziest.
The problem is when you cause such divisiveness, then you have a lot of problems ultimately with society and a total breakdown.
Yeah, but think of it this way: they could take and put a device on you. I don't know, it was 20 years ago, and they could put a device on your head individually and make you think you saw God. Right? Why were they doing that? They were testing the frequencies to see what they would do on people. So you would need a delivery system to do that. What's the perfect delivery system to affect people right now? Cell phone towers,
sure.
5G.
Sure.
And they're going to the next level. So call conspiracy, call whatever you want, but you just have to go back and know. That's why they're trying to keep people from following history. You just have to go back and look at the things that are going on and say, well, wait a minute, this is when things started to change. And this is when things started to get out of hand. On top of the fact that they know how to trigger different people to know different people are to have different beliefs. You have, just look how religion can be manipulated, sure. And we have wars with it and stuff. It's just, they understand. They are learning more and more every day how to manipulate society and control it.
So tell me about the, real quick, Echo Protocol 22 chapter, the animated series.
This is laying out what we're facing right now.
Okay.
It's exactly what this is. I hope people will watch it. It's on KGRA every Thursday night. It debuts. It comes out at 4:30 Central, 5:30 Eastern. I hope people will watch it. And it finishes up individual shows every week until Christmas Eve. It's on every Thursday except Christmas Eve, which is Wednesday. Ironically enough, the actual this year would be exactly, it falls exactly the way Rendlesham happened on Thursday night and Friday and all that. And then we can put it all together and show it as one complete 2-hour movie on exactly how we've evolved technology-wise, how it affects people, how it affected us, and the choice that we're coming closer to, whether it's going to be this Christmas or in the near future, where we're just going to give ourselves up. We're going to surrender. We cannot surrender to non-human intelligence.
Well, sure. Yeah. I mean, if they have such advanced technology to travel from where they are to here, then their technology is so advanced. There's not a whole lot. I mean, really trying to fight against them is futile. And that's
no. Actually, non-human intelligence to me is what AI is.
Sure,
that it ties together. And yes, we can shut it off.
No, I'm not talking about AI. No, I'm talking about if an alien species.
AI ties into non-human intelligence, dude.
Right. No, I'm talking about an alien species from another planet, another solar system, another dimension. A lot of people talk about if they're able to get here, if they're able to travel here, then they're so advanced in their technology that in of itself is quite frightening.
Yeah, but we're closer to that than people realize ourselves. We have you have to watch the 22-part series.
Okay.
Our minds are being utilized, at 10% of what our capabilities are?
Yeah.
Yeah. We have the abilities to do a lot more. And we also have the technology to do all that now. We've made leaps and bounds in the last since 80. It's unbelievable the way everything's changed and stuff. Bullets are still real. We still use, everyday nuts and bolts technology, but the advancements are coming so much quicker than people realize. And for most, it's going to overwhelm us. And the problem is people are so caught up on trying to survive, they don't really even realize what's going to happen until it's too late.
Yeah. 100%. Well, look, John, I want to thank you so much for spending time with me. I mean, this is fascinating. We could talk. I mean, I love this type of, because you just simply, there's so much we know we don't know. And I think that's the frightening thing. So I appreciate you chatting.
Well, not only that, but just remember one more thing that we really didn't discuss.
Okay.
Religion is going to play a part in this. It's going to play a part in the ultimate defining moment. And the bottom line is one of the excuses they use is we can't know. It would change society because it would totally disrupt our beliefs in religion. You know what I mean? So that's one of the excuses they use, that this can't come out. So watch out when this does, when they control. This is going to be a controlled release. And I'm not sure exactly when, but it's going to happen. And that's the next phase. Because the last thing you just have to go, Von Braun warned us about this. He talked about the Cold War, war on terrorism. There was a think tank in D.C. that talked about the war on terrorism coming before it did. And then they said the last threat's going to be from above.
Control release.
And that's how they're going to completely control civilization. Yeah. Control release means they're controlling the narrative right now the way they're handling it in D.C. right now, with this whole buildup to there's stuff here, but we can't tell you yet. There's going to be a control release that's going to cause something to happen that's going to change. It's going to be on the same level that 9/11 was. That's all I'm going to tell you. Oh, wow.
That's all you're going to tell us. Come on.
Well, I can't tell exactly how they're going to play it out. I would not. I don't blame people. Don't believe me. I would not have believed 9/11 was possible.
100%.
Okay, until after I saw it with my own eyes, but that was somewhat manipulation too, the way they manipulated the whole thing. But the bottom line is there will be another event like 9/11, and it will involve the threat from above. It's coming. And right now, I'm starting to wonder if it's not going to be sooner than later. So,
and that event that will be similar to 9/11 will be a way, you think, to manipulate us?
Yeah, did 9/11 change the world?
Oh, certainly. I remember 9/11. Yeah, like it was yesterday.
Yeah, but we gave up all our rights, didn't we?
Well, yeah, we were so terrified.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So, watch out for the next one. And they've been talking about this for years. That Cold War, terrorism, and then the threat from above. And that's going to happen. I firmly believe this now. And that's not necessarily, but there's too many things going on right now that tell me that's going to be the next thing that they use to manipulate us and put fear into us and change things.
So World War, and then of course terrorism, and now threat from above, aka UFOs, aliens coming to get us, and now you need to listen to us to keep safe.
Well, they just said the threat from above. I mean, that's the thing. If you go back to the alien card, we've been misled forever from the War of the Worlds what exactly aliens are, what exactly we're dealing with.
Yeah.
So the fact of the matter is, it's not, in my opinion, and people could argue with me all day, but I believe in my encounter and all the stuff I've learned, it's not a civilization coming from Zeta Reticuli that's going to be what's going to happen to us. It's going to be completely different than that, and it's going to involve the manipulation of the human minds.
Okay, let me ask you one question then. Why would they, if we already have frequency that can control people's minds and thoughts, etc., why would they go through such extravagance? Because they don't need to. They could just do it very subtly by the Havana syndrome, for example. If they already have that ability, that technology, then why then create this fear of, oh my gosh, look above or whatever it might be, to cause panic when if they already have the ability to control our minds and our thoughts and take our autonomy away, then why create that fear if you already have the ability to do so?
Because they haven't got it to the point where they can mass do it.
I see.
They can trigger it in different areas. I firmly believe the Phoenix Lights was a test. That was a test on a major population. And there's different reasons why, and it'd take too long to go into it tonight, but I was in the military at the time, and I was at the station at Luke, so I have some insight to what took place. But I firmly believe that had to be done in that area, because as the technology evolves, and don't forget, you completely forgot about satellites and lasers. And remember what the drones shows that they can do now, right now, and stuff like that. The different technology is getting to that point. Combine it with all the different things that we have, and then add in the EM manipulation and just the fear itself. If all of a sudden tomorrow, I've heard it over and over again. Remember, different times the president's going to address, or they thought Trump was going to tell us everything with the interview he did with, what was his name, Tucker Carlson?
Sure.
All it will take is a trigger mechanism and somebody of authority that people believe say something, and the game's on. Because there'll be people that won't agree with it, just like people didn't agree with the way COVID was done with us. Right. But that'll be a small group of people compared to the masses that'll be easily controlled.
Well, it sounds incredibly nefarious, so we need to be on our A game. That's what we got to do. Is there any way to suppress this? I mean, it sounds like to me we're just pretty much sheep led out to the slaughter. So how can we evade?
What's the one thing I said we're losing our ability to do?
Yeah, we're making decisions. Critical thinking, absolutely.
Critical thinking skills. I mean, let's just line up one scenario. I'll give you an example. When COVID hit, clearly they presented it as a danger, and it was. People were getting sick and dying.
Yes.
And it was affecting different people in different ways. But one of the first things that stood out to me was, number one, they already were working on a vaccine before it actually was announced. They admitted to that early on. The second thing that stood out was they rushed this vaccine, but the Chinese didn't do it. The Chinese did not do a vaccine. They locked everybody down. But the bottom line was they did this vaccine, and not only did they put it out, they lied about it and said that it would keep you from getting COVID, and that was proven wrong. And they completely exempted the pharmaceutical companies from any liability to it. And it's still in effect to this day. They have no liability if you get sick from it. So these are the kind of things that when the breaking news hits, I'm not saying it won't freak you out a little bit, but stop and think about really what they're telling you, and does it add up?
Right.
And then if it doesn't add up, then where do you want to go from there with it? You know what I mean? And if enough people stand up to it, it probably would maybe get stopped. But it's no different than the mask. The mask that they wanted you to wear weren't going to work. And they've even admitted they came up with the 6 rule, foot rule, and all that. Listen to what they're telling you. Don't overreact by fear immediately. Obviously, unless whatever's taking place is happening right over the top of you and it's affecting you directly. But overall, in general, the population needs to stop and take a deep breath and really analyze what's being fed to us before we act and get out of control, is what my point is.
Yeah, the whole COVID situation was a terrible situation. I'm of course, a chaplain for the hospital. And a lot of people ask me about that. And I will tell people what I saw. And what I saw was that I'm in Kentucky. It was bad. That we had a lot of chaplains quit because the dying was unbelievable. It was constant. I've never seen something like this in my life. I will say this: when the vaccines came out, there was a dramatic, and I mean a dramatic, decrease in deaths. I was there. I witnessed it. I was a chaplain. I administer last rites to people who are dying. I have done this for 25 years, and I have never seen in my life the amount of deaths that I saw during the time when I was serving as a chaplain at the hospital. And when the vaccine,
what were the majority of the deaths? Older people.
No. There was one that was 35 years old, no medical history at all. And
yeah, but I understand, but the majority of the people that got sick and died were older people.
Not in the hospital.
Elderly, and there were people that had pre-existing conditions. So was it worth rolling the dice if you were in that situation, especially elderly? Probably it was. It was, but the young people didn't need it.
From my experience, Sean, honestly, from my experience as a chaplain, I did not see the majority. It was a very diverse group of people.
Statistics show that the majority of the people that died were older people, elderly people, and they were pre-existing conditions. And the interesting thing was, I'll give you an example with me. I got really sick. I didn't catch it for 3 years or 2 years. I got really sick. Now, I was in the hospital, and a chaplain came in, a female chaplain came in. And this is when the medical field was starting to realize the ramifications of getting the vaccine and what it could cause heart issues and everything else, right? My next door neighbor was perfectly healthy, got the vaccine, and had a heart attack afterwards, okay? This chaplain was a marathon runner, and she got the vaccine, and she couldn't even run anymore right after she got the vaccine. And a lot of these nurses and stuff were really realizing that it wasn't a general across the board thing to take. And I'll give you another example that happened to me with the military. When we deployed to the Middle East, they were freaking out, at least publicly they were telling us, that Saddam Hussein could use these different biological weapons, including different types of old different diseases from before.
Right.
And one of the things that they gave everybody was the polio, because most people that had polio vaccines when they were babies didn't it was running out, or they felt that polio could still overcome us. But I had a bad reaction to polio vaccine when I was a child, so they exempted me. 24 hours after everybody got polio vaccines, they medevaced 8 people out with heart attacks.
Wow.
But 8 people that were medevaced out were older individuals that had heart conditions, or they didn't know they had heart conditions. And what they didn't realize was that the polio vaccine was given to young people mostly. It wasn't given to the older people, and there were side effects if you had heart conditions and other issues. Okay, so you go back to this vaccine again that I'm talking about. They just threw it at us, and they tried to force us to have it. They didn't give us an option. They tried to shame us into taking it. And not only that, the side effects. I had a good cardiologist, and he said there was already issues being shown with heart issues from it, clotting and all that other stuff. And I was susceptible to all that. So he told me not to take it. He said, wait, and I did. I got COVID, but I was in the hospital for 3 days, but I came out of it okay. But the point is whenever you get something shoved down your throat, stop and think about it before you turn on everybody else. And that is my whole point.
It's very true.
So
critical thinking, you're right. Critical thinking just simply doesn't, it just seems, I don't know why it just doesn't seem to exist anymore, or it's very scarce. That's for sure.
No, and more example. This is how bad it got. My son has migraines sometimes. It had nothing to do with the vaccine that he got, right? But he had a massive migraine one time, and he went into the hospital, and they coded him right away because they thought he was having a stroke off the COVID vaccine. So many young people are having heart issues and strokes and different things off of this vaccine. So my only point to people is stop and think, and don't let fear rule what you do next.
Yeah, you have to do your homework
and use your critical thinking skills.
Yep. Because every person is different. Every person is different. What a vaccine may not be necessary for one person, but for the other. But as a chaplain, that was my experience. And it took a toll on the chaplains because I'd never seen the amount of death from all ranges. And it was terrible. It was terrible. Even the nurses, you could see it took a toll on everybody. It was a heavy time. I'm glad that time is over, and now that we moved on, but now we have this other issue coming up before
let
December.
me clarify as we close tonight. I feel this could happen. I'm not saying this for sure, and all I'm saying is keep your eyes out open to what the government may try to pull next.
I agree.
And keep your eyes open to, if they try to pull something, stop and think and evaluate it not only individually, but as a group. And when something becomes absolute and they demand something out of you, that's the first warning sign to me. That's the first warning sign. That's all I'm saying. There could be something on the horizon. Yes, I do believe that, just the way things are going across the world right now. And it could even have something to do with the last thing I'm going to say. There's clearly something going on with the weather. We're having all these earthquakes.
Yes, yeah.
The earth is heating up. Volcanoes are becoming active. They've shut down a part of Yellowstone they won't tell us about. One of the best theories that I've seen so far is, and this is factual, you can look it up, the poles are shifting right now. So are they shifting more dramatically than they're telling us? Because the pole shifting would create a lot of the effects that we're experiencing right now, but they've got us believing that it all ties into global warming, when in actual reality it could be something else. So I'm saying, stop and do some research and do some critical thinking skills, and don't let somebody yell at you you're a conspiracist right away when half of what people say is conspiracy ends up being true. So
it's true. I mean, and it's true. I mean, the North Pole, we see it shifting. I mean, that's just the way it is. And you're right. The weather, I was talking to you earlier. I mean, we're having tornadoes in Kentucky in February, John. In February,
right.
That's not normal.
Right. We've had some of the mildest winters in the last 3 or 4 years in Illinois has ever had, and it is there's something going on now.
I agree.
All I'm getting at is that, again, I'm not saying it's an extinct level event, but it could be something big that's going to go on. It's going to disrupt things. Well, some of it makes sense. You don't really want to tell the people that there's going to be these things that get worse and they're going to get out of control. So you get people to turn on each other and blame each other, and they stop really focusing on what's going on totally or whatever. But just remember, now they've thrown in this thing maybe coming to analyze us. We won't know till Christmas time. There's a meteor now that may hit us in 2029. I don't know if you've heard about that. They keep going back and forth on it, and now they're saying it could hit the moon and not the Earth.
Right.
Okay. So there's a lot of stuff going on right now. And one of the things is they could try to keep our attention from what's really going on with other distractions too. So all I'm saying, we're living in interesting times. All I ask is people to pay more attention to what's going on around them and less about what they're being told to believe and deal with, and actually try to understand what we're dealing with for real. And what's the best thing to turn to is faith.
Well, you know what, John? I really, this has been fascinating. I'm looking forward. You say so Thursday. You're going to be on KGREDB radio every Thursday.
Every Thursday, we had episode 3 out. 4 will be out next Thursday. You can see it on their webpage, the first 3, and 4 will be out next Thursday. It's on every Thursday at 5:30 Eastern time.
5:30 Eastern time. John, thank you very, very much for being with us.
And you're going to really be blown away by the last 2 episodes. You really are. And everybody that's watched it so far has to watch it more than once to understand what I'm trying to tell them.
Okay.
And most of what's being told in this is all stuff that we've uncovered through declassified documents and stuff and scientific papers and stuff. I mean, some of it's sci-fi, but a lot of it's stuff that's there. It's real. So, and
it's fun. That's on KGREDB radio, and it is called what? Tell everybody what it's called once again.
Well, we're calling it the Green Veil is what it is, and it's animated. So there's a storyteller, and it's animated, and it tells you a story, and it's segmented anywhere between 15 and 25 minutes each episode, leading up to what's going to happen on Christmas Eve. So
the Green Veil, excellent, John. Thank you so much for being with. I appreciate your time so much.
Thanks for having me on, and let's keep in touch. Let's see what happens in the next few months.
Heck yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
But you know what? I hope I'm totally wrong.
And you know what? And when you're right, we're going to come on and say, John, tell us what's going on. Tell us what's going on.
Yeah, well, we'll see. Just watch I'd love your feedback. You've got my email every week. Watch it. If you got any questions, let me know. I'm getting quite a few people questioning me now. So
okay, I'm going to watch it. I'm going to watch it. Thank you, John.
All right. Thanks.
All right.
Have a good evening. Have a good weekend. Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right, everybody. That was our friend John Burroughs. Very cool. And again, the Green Veil airs on KGREDB radio. It's every Thursday at 5:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Chapter 4 airs next week, and you can go on KGREDB and you can watch that. I'm gonna take a look at this. I'm gonna watch this. You know, that's there's a lot of information. That was a lot of information. And again, what I loved about this conversation is this is an individual who had some high, he had some security clearances, which most of us don't have. And I think that's pretty cool. The Green Veil. So it's called Green Veil. And it is on KGRADB. So that's what you need to do. Look up Green Veil, Green Veil, and it's every Thursday. And that 5:30 Eastern Standard. But you can go watch it now. They have episodes up there now. And I'm going to check this out. And there's just so much there's so much we don't know. And I've been saying this for a while. I don't like AI. I have a bad feeling about AI. I just don't like it. There's just something about AI that makes me uncomfortable. And you can say, oh, that, you're being paranoid or whatever. Well, maybe I am. I don't know, but I don't like it. There's something about AI, and he's right. Critical thinking skills seems to have gone away because people will contact me. Oh my gosh, Bishop Long, did you hear about this story? What? There's a two-eyed or two-faced dragon or two-head dragon that was born from a woman. What? Oh yeah, I read it. It's a satire. I mean, seriously, I've had people come to me and say, oh, they found Jesus's body. They found all his bones and everything. They found the whole entire. And I'm like, did you read the website? It's a satire website. And it's just not true. I mean, but he is right. It seems like we've kind of, the critical thinking has just kind of gone out the door. I don't know why, but that's problematic. Yeah, just some of the people are really legitimately terrified of some of these things. I'm like, guys, it's just, no. But he's also right. I have never seen in my life, such discourse as it is now. Discourse. I mean, it just, there's such division. And I don't understand where it's sad to see. Okay. Yeah, that's right. Listen to this. This is by T.K. Randall. This is a very interesting article if you guys don't know. So thank you, John, for being a special guest. And thank you, Mr. Producer, for setting up. We certainly appreciate that. There is a large unidentified river creature. I don't know if you guys heard about this. That was caught on camera in South Korea. Well, the mysterious visitor showed up unexpectedly during an angling session posted to a fishing YouTube channel. Something large and unexplained has been lurking near the surface of the Han River. It's a major stretch of water that flows through the South Korean capital city of Seoul. A strange encounter was captured during the recording of a recent episode of the fishing-themed YouTube channel, Jungdam Story. The video, entitled "A Real Monster Emerges at the Han River in Seoul," seemed to start off like any ordinary fishing trip, but then just after the 13-minute mark, a dark shape suddenly appeared in the water a short distance away. As it got closer, the video star got up and walked over to the water's edge to get a closer look. Perplexed, he eventually picked up the camera and zoomed in to film the creature. "What is that? I'm scared. It's moving toward me," he said. He later noted that the creature had remained in the area for about 20 minutes and been estimated 10 meters in length or so. He also suggested that there may have been more than one. He says, "I've been fishing for decades, but I've never seen anything like this before." And you can check this out. It is an interesting video. There's clearly something there. And it does kind of make you wonder what's going on. This is a Han River in Seoul. Han River in Seoul. So you might want to check that out if you have not done so. I want to remind everybody, because time is already flew by, don't forget that in less than a month, I'm going to be flying out, and I'll be heading to Los Angeles. And I will also be at the Queen Mary. And we will be going live at the Queen Mary, the boat that is quite haunted. It is known for its incredibly haunted activity. I'll be staying the night before on the most haunted room on the ship, just to see what I capture. Who knows? Maybe I'll capture something. I don't know. But if I do, I'll certainly let you guys know on that Friday. But oh yeah, every day. Well, Judy Ann has been, of course, she's serving as executive producer. We're putting a documentary together for this event, and she's serving as the executive producer. So it's going to be pretty amazing. There's been a lot of people there, a lot of people. So nope, I don't have a team. It will be me. I'm going to go there. I want to experience this. I want to see it. I don't want a whole bunch of people there, because a lot of times you have interference or you have noise or something. So you have to kind of make sure that the environment is controlled. Because if not, then noise interference happens a lot. And so therefore, I'm going to be doing that, and I'll be going live on the ship. It'll be in a month from now. I'll let you guys know. I'd like to do maybe a show or two on the Queen Mary. So not next week, but perhaps maybe the week after. I'll do a whole show on the Queen Mary, its history, and all the scary things, maybe even, perhaps. Like, well, we'll have to see how things go. But I would like to maybe even talk to a group. If a group has been there and you know a group that has been on the Queen Mary, or if you've been on the Queen Mary, maybe I'd interview you. I think that'd be fine. Are you frightened by paranormal? Not at all. Not at all. As a matter of fact, I'm hoping that I am able to capture some clear evidence of paranormal activity. I'm hoping. I want to hear the disembodied voice. A disembodied voice is when you actually hear the voice with your own ears. I want to hear that. Since we only have a few minutes left, I'll turn chat on for everybody. We'll see how long that'll last on TikTok. I'm sure in about 30 seconds, I'll be turning sub chat back on. But nonetheless, but I absolutely, I want to hear the disembodied voices. I want to hear the growls. I want to see, without question, that there is something there. Yep, I'll have some equipment. I'm not going to be able to bring all the equipment because I'm flying, and that's quite expensive to bring all the equipment. So, honestly, what I've always found is the best equipment you can possibly find is your number one, your sixth sense, and then of course a digital recorder. But I hope there's full body apparitions. That's the goal. I'm looking into a FLIR camera. I do understand that there are FLIR cameras that work with your iPhone. I don't know a whole lot about that. So that would be a lot of fun. I have seen a few of them online, but I don't know a whole lot about them or if they're legit. I just simply don't know. So what's that? Oh, it does work? Right. Yeah, Mr. Producer says that he has one for Android. It works, but make sure you get the real FLIR brand. Yeah. Okay, there. Yeah, we'll do that tonight. But yeah, I think that's pretty. Goodness gracious! Oh, really, Trish? Yeah, Mr. Producer's here. He's in the background. But I think, let's. I don't know, Mr. Producer, you want to say hello to everybody? You can just say, I don't know if you want to, but he's probably busy because he's working on getting the next show up and running. Oh, there he is, Mr. Producer. But the folks on TikTok can't hear you.
Hello to those on TikTok. What's happening?
Well, there you go. Mr. Producer saying howdy. Mr. Producer, tell everybody what your TikTok channel is.
Bill Skywatcher.
Bill Skywatcher.
I believe.
Yeah. As a matter of fact,
he has my own username, but I know. You know what, though? I have to thank them because on TikTok the other night when they did the pursuits, do you know how many TikTokers were watching total?
How many?
96,000.
96,000
for the Perseids. Even though it was a bummer, it was subpar because of the moonlight. But still, the TikTokers were there in full force.
Yeah, they had the comments out recently, and so he had the live camera. How often do you do that? How often do you just show the sky?
Okay. That's a kind of a mixed question because it's a meteor shower. It's a big thing. Like the next big one is in December for the Geminids. But if you're not watching the skies, then what could you be missing? So, sometimes I'll just put the camera out just to observe the sky because a bishop, you never know what you're going to catch. I'm serious.
100%. Now, and how often?
Especially with this camera. I mean, it's a top of the line camera. It's a Sony A7S III. It's great for low light resolution. So it's not like using a phone. You see everything with this thing.
How often do you go on TikTok?
Daily.
Is there a certain time?
No, it's just when I'm free. I have free time.
Yeah, Bill Skywatcher.
Yeah. But I just want to add, that was a great interview with John. But I work with John for this 22 chapter animated series. He and I are doing it together, and sometimes we'll bring on a guest co-host to participate. So it does air, like you mentioned, Thursdays, 5:30 p.m. Eastern. But we also do a live show on Saturdays, 8 p.m. Eastern, to recap the previous chapter and preview the upcoming chapter. Now, the third chapter's out, the first three. The fourth one comes out next. I've seen chapter 4. Wow. It's intense.
Where do you go live? Where do you go live on Saturdays?
KGRADB on YouTube, Facebook.
Okay. TikTok?
Rumble. Not TikTok. You might have to show me how to do that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's very simple. I mean, really, honestly, it's very simple. Here, I have this, and then I have my little speaker goes here, and I put it right next to the phone. I have the interview.
I know you, and it does a great job. But I want people to be able to see the video clips. like some of the stuff that we show.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. Audio is one thing, but to have that visual is important too. But like he mentioned to you, and I know because I have the outline. I've not seen them all. I've only seen like the chapters upcoming. But I do have the 22 chapter outline that frames everything out. there is definitely a reason it has to air on Christmas Eve, 12 p.m. Eastern. I caught wind of the last chapter.
You can't do that. You can't give us that kind of.
Oh, it's powerful.
Well, then tell us, give us something.
I can't. Are you kidding? But no, it's going to be, they're getting more intense as it goes.
Let me ask you a question. Do you love baby Jesus?
Of course.
Well, if you love baby Jesus, you would tell us.
Now, the chapter that's coming up, well, I don't want to give away spoilers, but it's getting more in depth about his personal and experience. And I'm kind of putting things together too now, because I had to call him after I saw chapter 4 today. And I was like, dude, I think I'm finally putting this together, because we've been testing stuff for decades. You know that. All kinds of weapons, whether it's on military sites, like testing the atomic bomb, or possibly even civilians. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Now, what's to say what happened in Rendlesham or even Maelstrom in the 60s when Robert Salas had that incident happen at the silo? The Minutemen were shut down. How do we know that they weren't testing some kind of technology to see how vulnerable we are, as it would if the height of the Cold War, which this was in 1980?
Sure.
Then think about the evolution of the technology, and could that have a connection to the TikTok? And if that's the case, which is 2004 and where it is now, can you only imagine, Bishop, what we have now that we don't know about? It's incredible.
It's scary. It's a scary thought.
Scary. But anyway, it was great being on with you. Have a great weekend to everybody watching, and I'll see you next week.
Thank you, Mr. Producer. Okay, so Mr. That's pretty cool. Make sure you guys tune in. I'm going to be tuning in. I want to find out more about what is said on that. That's going to be pretty amazing. Don't forget, tune that in. For those of you who are listening to the on podcast, I say goodnight to you guys. Yeah, don't forget, everybody. Oh, let me turn this down. Don't forget, everybody, we have our night prayer coming up at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So make sure you please tune in. We certainly would love to have you guys there. Remember, I tell you all the time, your value does not decrease based on someone's inability or refusal to see your worth. You are priceless, and don't let anybody tell you or convince you otherwise. We'll see you guys next week.